Bill, we're ready in a few seconds. Here we are. It's redirecting.
I just want to thank you all for coming. Like you heard, we're going to start. If you have not already, if you could please sign up on the sign-in sheet.
And mute that.
And then afterwards it's over, please put your seats back underneath the table. Thank you.
Put them where they found them. Right? Put them where they found them.
All right.
I see Williams there.
All righty.
Can you all hear me okay? Hello, hello. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. I knew Larry would do that. Yeah. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bill Johnson. I'm the Section Emergency Coordinator for West Central Florida. And we don't have a real big program set for you, but the one thing is, a lot of you I'm seeing for the first time, and I'm glad. And I'd like if each and every one of you would stand and identify yourselves, just so I can fill my book in and make sure that it's all right. But if we can start with Mykesha and introduce yourself, and then we'll go around.
My name is Mykesha, November 2 X-ray agency. I am the agency for home information for Wilson.
I'm Bill Miller and one CEO. I'm the EC for Hillsville County.
Lisa?
The grade. Yeah.
Skip, Kilo Delta 4 in the training.
In the back? Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Tom Grace. I'm a before BMT and planning officer for the program.
Kevin?
Kevin Boyer, AA1KB, AEC, communications overhead.
Oh,
I'm Paul, or at least that's what the sign says, NV9X, Assistant Section Manager Digital, and also President of the West Central Florida Group. We've got that kind of inconsequential computer system called NI4CE.
Paul, I was listening the other night and somebody else named Paul had trouble remembering his name. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Sanford Wyatt, AM4 WXX, net manager for the ARES UHF, VHF net, and I'm assistant coordinator for the Sarasota Agricultural.
Good.
Jack Whiskey Golf 9 X-ray AEC admin for Vanity County. And maybe check in my extra wife. Everybody should have an extra life. I'm Steve, W4 Oscar Echo Papa, EC Manatee.
Steve, Larry?
I'm Larry, KR4X. I'm an official emergency station for Hillsbury County.
One of the two active ones, right? Okay. Ken?
Again, W4N, AEC, Hillsborough County Safety Officer.
I'm Timothy, KB8 AFS, and president of BCI Communications Amateur Radio.
Tim, and you let us use your repeater site one time too. We appreciate that. Christine?
Christine, UNBC for Fed County. The public information coordinator.
Very good.
Chuck W4CWJ, assistant section coordinator for rural communities and the Sarasota Agricultural Group.
And the head troublemaker, right? Yep. And the head troublemaker. Yeah. Okay. That's go ahead. Tony? Daryl?
Daryl, KT1WX, EC for Harding County, and they have some for technology and your technical coordinator, and sometimes here, sometimes not.
Okay. Now, it's nice to have you all here, and it's a well-attended meeting. A couple of the things that I wanted to mention also, we took the opportunity, and we'll let Paul speak for it in a few moments. He put the 444, 425 NXDN repeater online here in Hillsborough County for us. And Bill Miller and I went out last Saturday and tested it from inside of our cars with handheld radios. And we were able to make communications countywide. And this is a big county. I drove 91 miles testing spots. We started with with West County line, went over to the Northwest. The Northwest is the only place we couldn't reach. I couldn't reach the repeater with my radio. Paul saw my RSSI, but unfortunately I couldn't hit the repeater from there, but almost everywhere else it was full quieting and it was nice, the NXDN repeater. And we took that opportunity and tested it last week. You got any comments on that?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with the coverage, especially walkie-talkie inside the mobile. I covered the southern loop. I went down to 275 and 41. Having plenty of strength there. I'm sure I could have gone farther. I cut across Manatee County on one of the back county roads, then came back up on 301 and then went out to Polk County on 674. And a couple of minor problems in places, but there was obstructions that were in the way.
And I'm sure that if I'd had an external antenna, I would have been able to hit it from the northwest corner of the county, also County Line, Gun Highway and County Line Road. Yes, sir.
What was the frequency again?
444, 425. 444, 425.
It's NXDN, it's another digital format.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be blended into the system, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it was one night when we checked it out. So I'll let Paul talk about it. And Paul, if you'd like to come up and tell us a little bit more about NXDN, if we'd like to have you brief us on what's going on. Yep, the floor is yours.
Well, this was a big week for NXDN and for the NI4CE system. As of today, we have 3 new repeaters on the air, one in Highlands County at Lake Placid, another at Bartow in Polk County, and a third in Charlotte County, just north of the river in Port Charlotte. These supplement the existing NI4CE NXDN system, which includes Pasco up at the Pinellas Hill, Pasco County line on that small little 1,500-foot tower that's there. The Boyette repeater, which is on the Channel 8, Channel 28 tower at almost 900 feet. The Verna repeater down in Manatee County at 550 feet. Charlotte South, which is about a mile north of the Lee Charlotte County line. And I'll tell you about a little experience I had with that repeater this last week. And the Seminole repeater, which happens to be right at my house. It's not a big deal, but it's a mile from the Pinellas County EOC. So if the guys say we can't get into NXDN, well, they've got overlapping coverage between Seminole, the Pasco repeater at 1,200 feet, and the Boyette repeater. So there's, they've got the greatest of all worlds. It is all linked together, but unlike a lot of other linking that is done, it is not a one-size-fits-all. If you're on the Florida 1200 talk group or the West Central Florida 1201 talk group, yes, it propagates everywhere. And as a result of what we experienced during Hurricane Ian last fall, there are now 4 tactical talk groups that we have set up that will allow you to get very granular in terms of what needs to be covered. So let's say we have an area-wide, section-wide emergency. Charlotte County, Sarasota County, DeSoto County, they can be clustered together. If we need to expand it beyond that point, we can at a moment's notice. In the central part of the section, the Verna, the Highlands County repeater and the Bartow repeater can all be clustered together as a tactical group, or some subset of that. Here in the Tampa Bay area, if we need to separate the Pasco repeater, the Seminole repeater, and the Boyette repeater to cover specific counties or regions, we can do that, or we can bring them all together in a tactical group. That is the beauty of this system. It is not a one-size-fits-all, and it works. How well does it work? Well, the system was designed for amateur, and I'm going to use a word here that you should all be familiar with. It's designed for amateur radio. Now, there's some people with hotspots that have taken exception to that because we don't allow hotspots on the NI4CE NXDN system because it's a radio system, not a voice over IP computer system. Pure and simple. If you want to go mobile with a hotspot, you're going to need some other type of carrier, probably LTE. But this system is designed to operate with a portable radio. And it works. Yes, Sanford.
Paul, I had seen somewhere that there was a outline of the plan that you just went over with the tactical call, and tactical connections and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find it. If you remember where it was, so everybody can print it out.
I'll have to check on the website, but I believe it should be on the website. If it isn't, it will get there post haste.
It's kind of helpful, it's kind of faded.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I don't know what tactical two is. It's right here.
Yeah, one of the last things I'll leave you with, despite all of the mirth, mayhem, and merriment that we went through last September and October, the NI4CE system stayed on the air and stayed linked. That is really important. One of the things that, and Larry wouldn't admit to this when he got up and introduced himself. Larry is also the secretary of the West Central Florida group. And one of the reasons Larry is part of our board of directors that oversees everything is because of Larry's experience as an emergency manager. Larry knows what hardening a site is all about from his years as a radio technician, but also his years in emergency management. When this system was built, it was built so that when the lights go out, the generators kick on and the repeaters stay on the air. And the most graphic example of this that I can point to in recent memory was what transpired as a result of Hurricane Irma 6 years ago. We didn't get a direct hit from Irma like they did in Collier County, but there were an awful lot of people without power for days and in some cases weeks as a result of Irma. One of the sites in our system, the Holiday site, which has the Holiday analog and the Pasco NXDN repeater, was without commercial power for 10 days. Ironic because the site is literally adjacent to the Yanklote power generating station operated by Duke Energy. We're sitting there right next to their generator and there's no power. But thanks in part to our broadcast partners that also operate several FM radio stations from that same site, NI4CE, analog and digital, never went off the air. They were on an emergency generator for 10 straight days until Duke Energy was able to find out why that site didn't have commercial power, and they restored it. And we have that level of commitment from our commercial broadcast partners at Holiday, at Boyette, at Verna. And in fact, as I pulled up at the Verna site 2 days after Ian had rolled through, what did I see? I saw a tree that had been blown over by Irma that nearly took out the main power that comes into that site. But then I also saw a diesel truck refueling the tank that kept the generator running at that site. That's the level of commitment that we have been able to pull together to keep the NI4CE system, both analog and digital, operating when the chips are down. So if you want to know more about NXDN, just see me after the meeting or what have you, but I'm here to tell you it is real amateur radio. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Paul? Okay, some of the things, the other thing that you need to know, there is an NXDN net on Wednesday nights And Paul is usually the MC of the nets. And and that starts at 7:30 on Wednesday evenings. And if you have an opportunity, check in on one of your local NXDN repeaters. The other thing is also, we had a Skywarn class immediately preceding this session also, and we had 5 Category 5 storms hit the United States in the last few years. And we'll talk about hurricanes a little bit later. But right now, some of the other things, activities that are going on, I'm going to run a county roll call, and there's somebody here from the county. You might update us on current events. But first of all, Sanford, the EagleNet, you're the net manager. Tell us about the EagleNet.
Well, even that was sort of some time back, but I've been involved with it for 7 years. And it's basically, it is a traffic system. And we manage to pass health, military traffic and all the other options that are out. And that's one of the main things that we do with it, and try to practice it every night on the ARES system. Starts at 8:30 every night, rain or shine. Sometimes it's sometimes both. But we try to we've got it fixed in such a way that if, for example, I'm one of the net controllers, and if my site in my area is under heavy thunderstorm, I can switch off to somebody who's got net control down in Pasco County, got net control in Polk County, got net controls in Multnomah County. So if I'm under a severe thunderstorm situation, I can switch off to one of the other net controls, and a lot of times we have to give away to fall very so close, and sometimes 24 hours at a time. I remember here Ian when Paul was hosting, I was sitting in the shack with water up to my ankles in my house, and Paul was still there, and it was good to know that somebody was there. And it's kind of a comforting thing. Now, if you want to try the EagleNet, we appreciate you checking in. Most of the people are looking at free in there, just seeing the net control for Saturday night in New York. And a couple other people who I thought I'm seeing right now. But more and more to stop in and see what traffic is about. Dave Rockwell, PFC was net manager before he went over to the section emergency coordinator. And he takes kind of the traffic now that I pass on a monthly basis, but it takes to ARRL. But he has a excellent traffic handling program. So he's put together with quite a few people's help. So it's very good. He said it on the slide presentation. I will keep it check it out, take a look at it, see what it's all about. It's not a hard thing to learn, but it does take a little study to be able to use control in the system, the tiers that it goes to get a message from point A, which is sent to the local station, to across the country, or even out of the country. And same thing happens when it comes back the same step. So you can have when all else fails, as they say, cell phone doesn't work, you can still set in this station. And you want to get a message to Anatilla and somewhere in Idaho, it can be done. So you're going well if you check in and be aware that it is there. And, I try to get some of the years before because a lot of you don't know about it. It is there, and it's another tool in the toolbox.
I made it a point, once I accepted the appointment as section emergency coordinator, to get on the EagleNet every night that I could. And for those of you that don't know, the EagleNet meets 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year, and they meet at 8:30 every night. And sometimes they're preceded by different nets. There's also several different nets that operate on the NI4CE repeater system, for which we're eternally grateful. All right, the other thing I'm going to do is run a roll call of the counties. And if you're here from your county and you need you need a platform, now's your time. We'll talk about hurricanes in a minute because hurricane season is coming up in just a little bit more than a month. All right, anybody here from Charlotte County? All right. Doug, I know you're here, it's DeSoto County, anything? I thought Doug was here. I thought I said, okay, Hardy, Daryl.
Oh, okay. Well, we did participate last week while I was solo, being I was the only one that was around it. Operation service denied, very interesting. And got opportunity to get some practice with doing ICS 213s, old fashioned way, by voice. And I hate to admit this, I never had to do a 213 by voice. Got some experience handling it now. After we're doing, thankfully, this is where I think that for ARES, handling some traffic, whether you are on traffic net, tropical fast or whatever, I think it's a good idea for ARES people to get involved in, because it gives you practice in receiving and sending messages on a regular basis. So make it things legal that I know Sanford would love to have the business. Send a radio grant. Ask somebody to say the reply back. And you know, but it's a good thing. I noticed the folks in the islands, occasionally they'll generate some traffic as practice messages, so that way it gets practice from income. That's why I think the traffic on the form of traffic that and occasionally on tropical fast. I don't know, because I need practice. Because if you don't do it regularly, you get rusty. If you don't use your tools, they'll rust. If you don't use your skills, they go the same way. So the operation service denied is definitely an opportunity to think outside the box. And I look forward to our next drill here in the section whenever it comes. So, but I actually, and this is where also it made me think, now wait a minute, if this had been a real scenario, no internet in the state of Washington, and emergency power, problem. My internet is satellite based through ViaSat. It comes down, goes up a geosynchronous satellite. It comes down in Arizona. It might not have been effective. So under the scenario, I said, hey guys, under play here, my internet's still up. So I took their traffic, put it on 1.2K that way through Telnet. Going through because HF that morning was pumped. They had tried to send it on HF and they timed out. And so I sent all 4 radiograms and then go what ICS. I didn't get a reply back right away, but I did get an acknowledgement. Like whatever the next time they log in and check, they check your messages. So in a real scenario, it would have been delivered. So sometimes you say, well, that's commercial service. Well, what does the customer care? They don't care how they get the message. Sometimes we hands will be using other tools beside amateur radio. And we should be open to thinking, hey, that's available or this is available, let's use it. So that's the one thing I took away from that trip, that need to think outside the box. So I thought it was a good exercise, and it needs some practice. I need it, and maybe think outside the box.
Amen. And the drill that we had scheduled for May 6th was going to be just a simplex communication drill only, and we were preempted by the drill that went to Northern Florida. And we'll give Christina a chance in a moment to speak about that. I'm also very active in traffic nets also. I start off at 7:30 in the morning, listen to Daryl going to work on the Florida phone traffic net on 3940 at 7 in the morning. And then in the evenings, I listen to QFN, the All Florida CW net. They're on 7117 right now. They'll probably be going back to 80 meters here shortly. And for those of you that like Morse code, the QFN is a good net to be. They run about 20 to 25 words a minute Morse code. And then in the evenings, I check into the Eagle net every chance that I get. And then there's a few other nets, the West Central Florida Areas net on 80 meters. Sometimes I'll host the third week. And by the way, speaking of that, there's somebody else that we missed. Doug, are you still listening? Doug Williams? His name is up on the screen and we forgot to introduce Doug. Nope. Okay, no Doug. All right, over to Highlands County. Anybody here from Highlands? All right, Hillsborough, Bill, anything else that you want to throw in?
The only thing is, this clearly not in our vein, but it affects us, SARNet. As most of you know, we've been down on Tampa repeater for about 2 months now, maybe 3. and the, Skyway repeater is marginal, there's a lot of breaking up. They figure the Skyway repeater should be repaired in the next couple of months as they upgrade the throughput. On DOT's network to the bridge, and then they've ordered parts for the tampered repeater. They were supposed to put in last week. It was rescheduled for this week, and waiting to find out if they got it in there.
Okay, very good. And I did listen to you check in on Bill checked in. I think it was Bill that checked in on Wednesday. The SARNet is every Wednesday at what, 1,300 hours?
1300.
At 1,300 hours. Normally, they only ask people who are designated from EOSs to check in, or people who are assigned to EOSs. That you can sign your coworkers in, but basically they did that. And I think recently we just added section emergency coordinators to the list of check-ins. Okay. Manatee County, Steve.
Yeah, just maybe quick status things. I'm Steve. First of all, kudos to ARRL. I don't know if y'all saw the On the Air magazine in April. They had a nice 2-page article in there titled "The ICS Amateur Radio." I thought it was excellent. I mean, not the quality of the writing necessarily, the fact that the incident command system was included in an ARRL. We did an interesting thing in the last couple of months. We're looking around. If you go to the ARRL website and you sort by zip code, interesting thing happened. It turns out there's more than 1,000 amateur radio operators in Canada. 1,000. So we had some QSL cards printed out, and we sent one as a postcard to the U.S. mail to 875 licensed hands that we didn't know. And boy, has recruiting really taken off. The nets are even more populated if you look at our net numbers. The attendance at our last membership meeting last Tuesday night was full. I did an orientation training, and for the first time I had 8 people show up all in the same day. So that was kind of an interesting thing. So you don't know what you don't know. We have nets. I wanted to talk about the nets. So kudos to W2PH and the South Florida, West Central Florida folks for having the daily South Florida ARES net on 3940. And we've extended that to 60 meters. Anybody feels 60 meters? Okay, so immediately after the South Florida ARES net, go to channel 2 on 60 meters. There's a lot of near vertical instances happening. That is the we have a monthly, the second Saturday of every month, we hold what we call Operation Grace Bird. And everybody's welcome to participate. We focus very heavily on the east side of the team, and the tactical assessment of actually assigning traffic and running things. Kind of like the phone traffic net, but in a tactical volunteer resource net. So it's literally a resource net. Otherwise, we have a usual training and information style. Manatee County, so our third agency, Manatee County Emergency Management, hosts an annual hurricane expo. And that hurricane expo is open to the public. It's free. We're going to have a booth and a display there May 18th. In lovely progressive Palmetto at the Bradenton area. It's actually a big show. All the commercial vendors will be there, all the search and rescue, the ambulance sellers, everybody who has whole house generators will be there. The shutter companies will be selling shutters. So May 18th, you can make it down to the Bradenton area. Yeah, I'd encourage you to show up. No charge, lots of giveaways. And yeah, we'll be handing out QSL cards. We also, there's a lot of group prizes. So if you show up, there's constant raffles for door prizes. Everybody, including us, to give away. We're giving away a couple of FRS boards. We do a lot with the cert comps. So a lot of cert comps. There'll be a lot of cert demos there as well. I think that's it. Would you want to talk about it? Yeah. Oh, we've got a repeater coming, Jack.
Okay.
We got right now 49 active members in our county group here. There is, we got like 27 qualified, which means they've got level 1, 2, or 3. Yes, fine. We have 20, what we call demonstrated net control operators that have run that's over time. We're promoting that everybody should get practice running that's so that they can get in emergency. And we got 20 people that have demonstrated these packet dwindling capability. We before our Monday night net, we have everybody that can check in through dwindling. Try to get at least the packet level. Some of us go to HF, and those that can't still go to Telnet. But they get in practice and we use the ICS 213 just to announce that you're checking in on dwindling. How to use that form. So that's good practice for us. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 repeaters on the air in the county. I think the ag group, demonstrated main 10, which has great coverage. So that's a good one that keeps testing it. We like to rely on that, but we have other ones that are spread throughout the county. If the purposes, and most of them have good coverage in and of themselves. And then we have a packet gateway came for EC-10. Actually, we got a couple of digipeaters and a gateway that we use. We are we have the equipment now, it's just a matter of getting it installed. We want to put up May 19, we'll call it the PHF repeater in Miami City.
So the county has committed to do that.
Yeah,
We're not doing it. We don't. It's county. Right. Yes.
Yeah,
So there's no agents on it.
it's the form of Saturday night, that's what I say, so we're fortunate that they gave us the equipment to put it up. We have, yeah, been use it, you needed it. We're fortunate to have our county radio group really working with us, giving us good sites, it's working out very well. Any questions?
You can go to QRZ.com and do a sort on county name, get the same information. You want to be all different.
I did my zip code for the post office. Yeah.
And radio reference will also do the same thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What information do you put on the postal department email now?
That's a great question. I have one here. So it looks like a standard QSL card, and I didn't bring any. I'm going to pass it around. It looks like a standard QSL card, but on the back, rather than having all the QSO information that you normally would have, it says Manatee County Emergency Support Group. Join us on the air, and I listed all our nets, and then the URL for our website. Then the other half is for the mailing, so it's the address, the stamp, just like a standard postcard. So it's really not a QSL card, but if you look at it that way, it looks like it is. I use that term loosely.
Of course, what bridge you got there?
That's the Skyway Bridge.
Might be full.
Yeah, and so it's amazing how many, I mean, by street address, I can sort of that stuff, and it's amazing how many hands not only live together, like husband and wife things, you know, or roommates, that kind of thing, but consecutive houses down the block. It's really, and then I know that guy, he lived around the corner, I didn't know he was a hand, so there's a lot of learning.
We've got guys coming together at radio club meetings and find out, oh, you're looking at the antenna on the corner. They never knew each other, but knew there was somebody there. A good buddy now.
Good. A question, a toss up for somebody. How many counties do you go through when you go across the Skyway Bridge? Steve? 3 counties. Pinellas, Hillsborough, center is Hillsborough County, and then south end is Manatee. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we own the Summit Venture. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right.
Do you have any feel for how many of these dams you had heard from before live in deed restricted neighborhoods?
don't know that, the deed restricted thing. It is a barrier to entry for a lot of folks. But I advocate, adding antennas on that. I live here, so that, I haven't gone down that path to figure.
It's something that I would recommend you go down, particularly up there in the North River area, because that area is becoming the new Riverview. if
Well,
you will.
Chris is downtown Parish, that's where I live, yeah,
Yeah.
I know, well.
And, everything that's going up there is deed restricted. The homes are essentially going to be close to being Faraday cages. And I think one of the things that you need to be thinking about is how do we penetrate those dwellings with enough radio signal that they can actually actively participate. This is one of the reasons why when we were looking at repeater locations here in Hillsborough County, we're extremely fortunate to have both the Boyette site and the Riverview site because they've gone from cow pastures to high density residential. And none of those folks will be able to put any kind of an antenna up.
Yeah.
Even if the law that's currently going, or the bill that's going to Congress right now, basically opens up PRB one and kind of does in with the, what the lawyers and what have you.
Yeah, and so Paul, I, with all due respect, I just.
Steve,
As a 35-year master's degree in electrical engineering, I can tell you that it's not.
Steve, you got one question over there too.
And what we have come to accept is that you have a grant on them. And when it's back down, all levels below the roof line, I'll be able to accept that. That's to be below the roof line and out of security.
We can have an HOA conversation, that's not.
God,
I don't want to get the, I don't want to be real again.
My way. We love it.
I live in Fairview Cage, I don't have a problem, I got football seats. 8 bands.
Okay. All right. Thank you,
20
Steve.
feet is 20 miles
Yeah.
on for an escalation.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. All right. Anybody here from Pasco? Anybody from Pasco? All right, Pinellas, anybody? All right, Christine, tell us about the emergency drill.
Okay, we did participate in emergency drill in our place that can call for emergency drills and all that kind of thing, because it tells you what you don't do very well. So you can fix it when the building happens, and it tells you what you can do well. We did it very, I told you what was coming, but that morning we had 9 people check in. We did 11 official messages, and we did our messages 3 different ways. We did them on Sarnet, we did them on Midway, and we did them on HF 40 meters. And when we do Midway, we did our own platform. So we got our messages through. We say Tallahassee, even if we had to send state and have that send us back in Midway in case we had electricity in our stated highly unlikely. We sent out the welfare messages. One of the big problems I have is asking people for creative situation reports. They are used to making up stories on the ARRL about emergencies. So I have a hard time doing that. That was something we had 20% of our volunteers, of our core volunteers. We have a huge amount of people who say they're in Greece, we found out that, you haven't even seen them, they're still alive, or where they're at. But out of our core volunteers, we did have 20% of them. We were able to withstand loss of power and antenna failure. We went to different kinds of antennas. We didn't look into JSA or shares, although I know we do have someone who does shares on a weekly basis. It's not me, so I didn't have a way to check it. I don't have the clearance to use it and the share stuff, so I can do that. Somebody mentioned the article. Also, there's a podcast if you grab a listen to where you work and you can pull it up. And it's the one that's Representative Johnson, and he's our, emergency coordinator, and he did a good podcast that also talks about the ICS.
You both, you're
Yeah, and so he interviewed him on it, so people who don't have time to read, get earbuds and listen, but to one of them. Don't kind of look your ears, and our county is very, I know a lot of people think it's for the middle of the county world, Hicks or something. I don't know, and we have all kinds of radio out there. We have the NXTN, we have the ARES execution, we have the Star, we have people who do all of it, people who do some of it. People who like some of it, people who don't like some of it, and that's just the way it is. We just upgraded, we have DXN sites now in our county. Our county has not only the internet, we also have an intranet, so that if we can't get outside of our own county, we do have communications within our county, and we do simplex drills. And so far, there's only a couple places where we even have to relay, and we have the largest county. So getting from the northwest to the southeast, which is near the EOC, can be a problem, but even, I mean, I can reach it from my house even with the internet. So we do keep abreast of what's going on, and they're very hard to be able to get any kind of communications, which was what our survey agency, the EOC, really wanted, was when everything went down, when everything was terrible. When we had an Andrew or a Orion or something, we could get the word out. So we've got on the basis. So that's our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions for Christine? All right, anybody here from Sarasota? All right, Chuck, you're the last one to get the floor.
I got the after action report from Christine on the drilling they did, so I'll be looking at that sort of things. One of the deals that came up with drill with 551, 552, why it was so successful, is that we had a lot of action that was going on in there, actual activities that were going on, and required you to deal with that. And so it kind of got us accustomed to it. So by the time we get the real thing of the hurricane, everybody was used to dealing in that environment of the type of situation. So that's what I want to make sure that the next drill that we have continues to go down that route. But you know how to be able to use radio equipment. That's part of it, of making sure that that's correct. But there's also the thing of being in the emergency environment. That is a different mental state than just talking on the radio, talking to somebody comfortably over the radio or a net check or whatever. It's a different environment. You know, it's a different environment. That's where people tend to kind of lose it during that. Instead, I drive 1 and 2 got everyone to be able to take that and just handle the problem. We got this under control. We're not up panic. So that's part of what I look at and make sure we get it. We've been busy down our way, working with the other Chuck, K1CHC, our emergency coordinator from Sarasota. We're going to be involved with the city of Northfield, who was tremendous damage down there. They're going to be doing a hurricane drill on June the 20th. It's going to be a 2-part drill, 9 from noon, and then from 1300 on until the end of the afternoon. They're going to rotate through in 2 shifts. So they're going to practice doing that shift change. That's another component that we want to have in there. I think we're going to do next drill. So I do a shift change. That's part of it. So they're going to have with the Sarasota ARES group is going to supply communication support on that mission. And we will have our ag recovery group is going to be activated, and they are going to have inputs and requests for us. They do have, even though they're a city, they have a large food population down there. And then also on Wednesday, May the 24th, we're going to have this will be the 3rd of our meetings and tours of the Department of Agriculture, State Animal Response Team, their regional headquarters is in Arcadia, by the Turner Center. And also the livestock market, the Arcadia Livestock Market, which was built right after Charlotte. The old livestock market got completely demolished. This one is a hardened facility with emergency generators and we can survive with no damage whatsoever after the storm. We use that as a place of refuge for livestock, and we also use it as one of our distribution hubs to the Cattlemen's Association. So we have one that service in that side of Peach River, we service the other side of Peach River. Really proud of this. We got a presentation to our ag recovery group with volunteers, which included our ham radio operators from our county commissioners on the operation that was done out in eastern Manatee County. That's one of the greatest things in the world. Our partners over here with Manatee County's areas with their working on getting enhancing that hack. Really good on strategic communications, wide range strategic, it's that tactical communications that we saw with there in that area. And so we have in our efforts with the hours and the beam hours, just for this one operation, not for all of them, for $27,000 in volunteer equivalency. And we were able to put out about $150,000 worth of supplies that were given out to 300 different ranch animals. And we got some recognition on that, but back in hydro too. Forget the boundary lines. Forget the boundary lines where the counties were. It was Division A and Division B. We did it by what the Peace River did. Treated us. It cut off Highway 64, 70, 72. You set up your mission around through. That was a challenge. That's it for us. Right?
I think probably the only reason it didn't cut off 17 is because that bridge is so high on 17. Yeah.
We had people that were having to come around, go all the way around 27, go back around the trucks and stuff.
Yeah, amen. Right.
Definitely a challenge, but I liked one of the after I-5 2, there was a hand that sent us a text or an email that said, my wife needs him. My wife was always in. He was listening in on what you all were doing. And at the end of the operation, she was like, well, what happened to the cows that they were trying to So we are making some realistic rules, and they definitely paid off. Thank you all for all your support.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Okay. All right, anybody here from well, actually, I think we covered all the counties right now. Some things now that you can do for me. Monthly, I'm going to send out an email monthly. Let me know if there's some things that you want to add to our itinerary, some things that you want to talk about, and some things that I can look up. I've learned quite a few things here today from you guys already. I didn't know that we had a 60-meter net, for example, and that's a channelized net. And what frequency is that on, Steve?
Channel 2.
Channel 2. Okay. Yeah, that would be interesting. I'm going to go there and then listen to that also, the South Florida ARES net.
No, that's daily, but it's whenever somebody should.
But it's, yeah, okay. But still, I've never transmitted on that frequency, so that's going to be something new for me.
Channel 2 is designated as.
Okay. And the other thing too is task books, and I think I sent the email out, but all the ECs can sign off task books. That's one of the things that they gave us. And I think, Bill, have you got any traffic on task books yet?
Yeah, I started signing off a number.
Okay, good. I know somebody called me and I gave them your name and I never heard from them again. So I presume that they talked to you already. All right, anybody else? Yeah, Christine. Pardon? I can sign off with the ECs. Yeah. Or and maybe we can get somebody else close, but we're close enough that I can drive over there and we can talk anyway. That's not a problem. Steve?
I saw a really good article, again, I think it was in the ARRL newsletter about the NIMS edition of Oxcom. And a lot of my folks, including myself, a lot of us are Oxcom training. Is there going to be in the state of Florida a transition from the state emergency response team to an Oxcom state at some point?
Okay, I'm not good. I'm not qualified to answer that because I've not had the Oxcom training or not. Is there anybody else that can answer? Yeah. Yeah.
Organizational
Yeah.
issue. I wondered what the server was saying.
Anybody else, Skip, or anybody else on Oxcom? Okay,
Well, what
Chris,
what
yeah,
I
okay.
heard is we took the Oxfam class back in February.
Right.
We had to switch there.
Right.
And they're trying to head that way in Florida, but they gotta get a lot more people trained.
Yeah, so the good news is they're starting to show the training, like we never had radio training, we never heard of this off-steam position that was just announced. So that's good news, but I suspect there's politics.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, and the more you train, the easier it is to handle the real situation anyway. That's a good thing. All right, Christine, you had one?
Well, we're not under ARRL, we're currently under the state emergency response service.
Okay, and the last thing that I want to talk about today, and my leg is getting sore. I had a cancer spot removed out my leg, so it's getting kind of stiff. Preparing for the 2023 hurricane season. Hurricane season, June 1st through November 30th, complete disaster supply checklist. Living in Florida offers many benefits and advantages, but be sure to thoroughly prepare for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season starting June 1st. After assessing damages done from hurricane, especially Ian in the past few years, Floridians are encouraged to have at least 7 days of supplies. These supplies include food, water, medicine, batteries, etc. Each family and business is advised to be adequately stocked and prepared to face this hurricane season. And I'll tell you what, I have a generator, a 3,500 watt generator, and I've got a 5-gallon gas can. Guess how long it takes for that to run out of gas?
6 hours.
Yeah, but one fill up and I'm without power. So make sure that you got batteries. Have you guys seen the advertisement for the Battery Buddy? Yeah, this little box where you can put about 188 different kinds of batteries of all different sizes. I have one of those, and a lot of things that I have can be converted to battery. I even have a battery cell phone charger. So those things, and somebody mentioned cell phones earlier, and that would be one. All right. During the past 3 years, 4 hurricanes have made landfall in Florida, including Hurricane Michael, the first hurricane to make landfall in the U.S. as a Category 5 since Hurricane Andrew in 1992. And we had family members working in Andrew. If you're unsure what to do when a disaster strikes, make a plan today. If you're an owner of a business, want to ensure that you'll be able to continue business after the disaster, visit floridadisaster.org/business/planning -for businesses to get started on planning. For information about planning to any disaster and for tips, visit www.ready.government. And this is, I got some hurricane checklists. I'm not going to go over these because this is preaching to the choir when we start talking about hurricane checklists. But this is from the state of Florida for the disaster. There's a checklist there available. And they even show on the back a little chart when you're going to be running out of these resources that you've saved up. So make sure that you get your food and everything else that's needed. And the other one that I found interesting, I downloaded the Red Cross one, and what the Red Cross suggested is having 2 go kits for it, one for staying home and one go kit for when you go. Because I'll tell you what, every time we have a hurricane, not everyone who's an ARES member is going to be designated as a shelter communicator or an EOC communicator. You're going to be home with your radios if that's what you want to do. But make sure when you decide to stay home that you're not in a flood area, or as Paul was talking about, the surge area. You don't want to be in the surge area or the flood area. And the other thing is make sure that your car is full of gas, that you got a tank full of gas. And I think I already related how the RV full of gas helped us with electricity in Pensacola. People kept driving by our house and looking, and they saw lights and they saw a TV going, and they were wondering how we managed to do that. But that was the case. So preparedness is the key to all of this. And the headlines on the American Red Cross, when I downloaded from their website, are make plans to stay safe. If advised to evacuate, do so immediately, because when that water comes up, you're not going to be able to evacuate, or you're going to do like some of the people that Dan showed us on his Skywarn thing, think you're on a road and you drive into a canal. So make sure that if you're told to evacuate, that you do it as quickly as possible. They still say people in manufactured homes should automatically evacuate, and I think that's probably still the truth. All right, plan to shelter safely. And there's some things that we talked to. Larry and I discussed some of these things over lunch. And when you go to a shelter, we're opening emergency needs shelters here, and not all of them, from what we learned, have law enforcement presence. It would be nice if they did, but if somebody walks into your shelter with a gun, you're going to have to know how to handle that. And the other thing is, if you want to take a pet to your shelter, if it's a pet-friendly shelter, you need to have a crate for your pet. If you don't have a crate, your pet's going to stay in the car while you're in the shelter. So make sure that you do that. All right, plan to stay connected. Sign up for free emergency alerts from your local government. Plan to monitor local weather and news. Almost everybody must have a weather radio by now, because most hams will do weather channels too. So that's a good thing. Have a backup battery or a way to charge your cell phone, and that was mentioned over here earlier. All right, have a battery-powered radio during a power outage. Understand the types of alerts you may receive, and what you have to do when you receive them. And a watch means being prepared, and a warning means take action. We learned that in our Skywarn class this morning. Alerts you may receive include hurricane watch and warning, tropical storm watch and warning, extreme wind warning, storm surge warning, and warning, flash flood watch and warning, and also flood watch and warning. And we had one of those this week, didn't we, Paul? Yeah, when we did the net. All right, gather emergency supplies, gather food, water, and medicine. The nice thing about having a shelter at home kit is that you can have canned stuff too, the things that are normally hard to carry when you're evacuating, but things that you can have at home. And a lot of canned stuff you don't have to cook. But the only other thing that you could do is add something that does need electricity that you can cook with. They have propane stoves. I wouldn't cook with sterno necessarily. Yeah, that would take a long time, but propane stoves or something like that. Once again, when we had the hurricane, our RV had a gas range, but we also had one in our home at Pensacola when we were there. All right, the stay-at-home kit should have at least 2 weeks of supplies. Have a 1 month supply of medication. Medications are the important thing to remember, in a childproof container, and medical supplies or equipment. Also a first aid kit. And also make sure you know how to use that first aid kit too. Keep personnel, financial, and medical records safe and easy to access. Consider keeping a list of your medications and dosages on a small card that you carry. I put mine on my cell phone, and then if my battery runs flat, nobody knows what I'm taking anyway. So I do have cell phone. I have 3 cell phone battery packs that would work. 3? No, that's Bill Shatner. Okay, 3. All right. Other than that, protect your home. Secure or bring inside outdoor items such as lawn furniture and trash cans that could be picked up by high winds and hurt someone. Anchor objects that would be unsafe to bring inside, such as gas grills and propane tanks. Trim or remove trees close enough to fall on your home. Protect windows with permanent storm. I have a monstrous oak tree in my front yard, and hopefully when that thing falls, it's going to fall away from the house. But if it hits the house, it's going to take the house, the RV, and the garage. So that's always a bad situation. All right, for flooding, clean out your drains, gutters, and downspouts. Stockpile protective materials such as plastic sheeting and sandbags. Duct tape, that's a good handy one for windows. All right. Consider installing a sump pump with battery backup. That's for you in the low-lying areas, but that's not going to help that much when you're all flooded. Consider elevating the heating system, the water heater, the electric panel, everything above the high tide or the high water mark. Review insurance policies with your agency. Now, during the storm, if local authorities advise you to evacuate, go right away. We say that again, bring your go kit. Follow evacuation routes and do not try to take shortcuts because they may be blocked. Check with local officials to shelter locations. Download the Red Cross Emergency app to find shelters near you. All right, determine your best protection for high winds and flooding. Take shelter in a designated storm shelter or an interior room for high winds. Stay away from glass windows and doors and move to higher ground before flooding begins. And what did we learn this morning in Skywarn? Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Sometimes when we had a tornado hit in our neighborhood, it took down two of our neighbors' oak trees. One of them landed on the roof of our house, the other one landed on their car, and my wife was sitting in the closet with the dog. So, and I was at work at the time when that happened. So make sure that you put as many walls between you and the outside as you can. All right. Never walk, swim, or drive through floodwater. Remember, turn around, don't drown. All right, what to do after the storm? Stay safe. Wait for officials to say it is safe before going back home. Avoid damaged or fallen power lines and downed wires. They can electrocute you. Do not touch floodwaters because they may contain sewage, bacteria, and chemicals that will make you ill. Have gloves when you start cleaning up flood damage. Make sure that you've got good gloves. All right, beware of carbon monoxide poisoning. Prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. Gasoline, propane, natural gas, or charcoal burning devices should never be used inside of a home or inside of a screen porch. This year, I heard somebody had a generator in their screen porch and they were gassed. So you make sure that you have it clear and away from your home. All right. Clean up safely. Wear appropriate protective equipment, including gloves, goggles, and boots. Clean and disinfect everything that got wet. When cleaning heavy debris, work with a partner. Make sure you have proper training before using equipment such as chainsaws. Heart attacks are a leading cause of death after a hurricane. Be mindful of overworking. And you're talking to a guy who had a double bypass and wears a pacemaker, so I'm not going to be doing too much exercising after the hurricane. All right. Cleaning up is a big job. Take breaks and take care of yourself. It's normal to have a lot of bad feelings, stress, or anxiety. Eat healthy foods and get enough sleep to help you deal with stress. You can contact the Disaster Distress Helpline, and it's listed on the Red Cross website. You'll find all of these, the checklists and all of these you'll find on the Red Cross website and also on the Florida Disaster website. And that's all I got for anybody else. Is there anything else? Anybody else like Jerry or Larry?
I'll do my annual pitch. If you're gonna operate a gasoline generator at home, pay the extra money and get the E0 gas, no ethanol in it. And it'll save you a whole lot of trouble with your carburetor getting gummed up.
Yep.
You can buy it at Wawa's.
Usually about $1 a gallon more, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It costs approximately about $1 more per gallon than you pay for a regular car gas.
Is that the one at the gas station that's listed in blue?
Yes.
Okay.
And it says E0.
Yeah, E0.
Some places you go to, like marinas, they call it boat gas.
Okay.
And the other thing you need to do is have a method, we call it the Georgia credit cards, it is a method of sucking gas out of car tanks. If you've been without power for a week and you run out of gas, you go looking for cars to suck gas out of it. And so,
Yeah. And that would be good. Yeah, because I got 1 6-gallon gas can and one generator, and that's
well, we got two cars and they 16 gallons a piece. The first thing we do when there's a hurricane, we fill both tanks up.
Yeah.
I fill 40 gallons of gasoline in my plastic jars of E0.
Yeah.
And if worse comes to worse, I'll run regular ethanol gas until I can get no ethanol gas.
Yeah.
And so.
And most marine places sell the no ethanol too, don't they?
The
Yeah.
new Circle K's.
I learned the hard way as far as
Having-
running ethanol gas and
Yeah.
stuff. It gums the carburetor up. And
Yeah.
you let it sit for a month or two without running the carburetor dry, you come back, you won't be able to start that.
Ken,
There's another Larry Gisbert piece of advice, and that's to run your generator once a month under load.
yeah, and the other one, Larry Gisbert advice was to have your next of kin pasted on your shirt. I remember that one too. Yeah, yeah. Especially if you're gonna try and navigate some of these things. All right, Daryl, it's all yours.
All right, if there's no more questions, we're gonna terminate.
Yeah, one question,
Yes, sir.
real quick. I was looking at the act for action that you're seeing down on the north quarter, middle, and it's thinking that there's about everyone's. Okay, you said it's a notification to the state at 6, they set off the alarm at 4:45 in the morning. The canceled Everett Bridge, I noticed in Sarasota County, still using it,
But what if replacing it, if anybody comes?
Some of the counties want to keep it.
And by the way, I think that's typical political people doing a double there. Everyone has to the fall.
Yeah.
Somebody pushed the wrong button.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Bill, when is our next meeting date and time? And
July, let me see.
we normally go for the second or third. We tried to, we did in the past. So, you know, but we always would check to see what's coming to count. That's why we decided.
All right, before we make a decision on it, let's see what other activities are going on. I got, you know,
All right.
the flag from that, from the, for the TSL part.
Okay, so in case you didn't catch it, we will announce hopefully in the next week or two when the next sectionary is meeting to be sometime in July, but we'll nail that down once everybody's consulted and we get a thumbs up from everyone.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to end this and thank you very much for your participation.